Hello everybody, welcome back to another writing vlog. If you're new here, hi, my name's Leané. I am a fantasy and historical fiction author as well as a book editor, and the links to all of my books as well as my editing services will be in the description. So it has been a minute since we have done a writing vlog, which is why I'm actually really excited to film today. So just to kind of catch you up on what is going on in my writing life. So for most of last year, as well as the beginning of this year, I was working on the first book in a high fantasy series, which I was really excited about, but ended up temporarily shelving it for the time being. And then I moved on to a murder mystery book, which is the first time that I'm writing something in that genre. And so far, I've really been enjoying the process of exploring something that is a little bit different. So in the previous video, I started working on the outline for the murder mystery because I have the beginning and the end figured out, and then I also have the first 2.5 chapters written, but I don't have an outline for the story yet, and it's kind of been giving me, I wouldn't necessarily say like giving me writer's block, but it has been a reason that I have been procrastinating moving forward with the drafting process. So the most important thing for me today is to try and finish this outline. So I did a little bit of research on what the structure of a murder mystery usually looks like, just because it is a genre that I'm unfamiliar with. And I basically wrote down all of the important points that needs to happen in the book, and then I wrote down all the ideas that I had for scenes in those specific points, if that makes sense. So I do still have quite a few scenes that I need to add in order to really just enhance the story and give a little bit more depth to our characters and the way that they are connected with each other and their backstories, as well as obviously clues throughout the plot of the book that is obviously going to lead to the final resolution or reveal of who the killer is and what exactly happened. So that is what I am going to do for the next hour. I think I'm going to put on some music and really just like zone in and focus, and yeah, hopefully we can get this done. So I'm gonna put up the camera. My battery's kind of looking like it's gonna die soon, so I don't know how long it's gonna last, but I'm gonna stop procrastinating and let's get started with the outline. It's now a little bit later. I got back home from work and I did some chores around the house, and I'm currently starving. But before I can get to dinner, I really want to finish this outline. So this is kind of my fault because I decided to write by hand, and that is why it's going so slow. But I finished Act 1, so I got started on Act 2 before I have to leave for work. I'm basically transferring my ideas from my little sticky notes to the notebook. I'll probably end up creating like a digital version of the outline possibly at some point, but for now we're sticking to the notebook. I also made like a little list of all of my characters, like my side characters, and how they're involved in the story. Just finished chapter 9, so I'm gonna get started on chapter 10, and I think there's 21 chapters in total. Let's try and get this finished finally. It feels like I've been working on this outline forever, but it's just because it's taking me so long to write by hand. Good morning. It is now Thursday and we've had a pretty productive start to the day. I got up relatively early, and then I went to the gym, did my workout, came back, made breakfast, and got ready for the day. So I am ready to be productive. I'm feeling motivated, and I honestly don't actually have that much to do on my to-do list today, which I love because I really want to spend some time drafting today. So that's what we're gonna do. I don't think I told you guys this last night, but I ended up finishing the outline for our murder mystery, which I'm very happy with. I'm glad that I got that done, and now I have some sense of direction to work with, so that's good. However, I'm not going to be drafting the murder mystery today. At least I'm not planning to. Maybe I end up changing my mind. But the plan is actually to continue working on my fantasy novel, which I know if you watched, I can't remember how many videos back it was, but I basically said that the fantasy novel that I started writing last year and that I was kind of done with the first draft, I was going to shelf it. And technically, it's still kind of semi-shelved. I don't know. Like, I just don't know. After I finished the first draft, I decided that the novel felt kind of incomplete. And so I came up with the idea to take the plot for the second book, or at least what I had for the plot of the second book, which was relatively a lot, but not really as much to create like a proper thick fantasy novel. And so I basically decided to merge it with the first book so that I can create a really lengthy high fantasy story. I obviously haven't written that yet. And then the other day, I think it was Friday evening, I just kind of like randomly started drafting what would have been the first chapter in the second book, but is now chapter 29 in the first book, or like the first chapter of part 2 in the first book. And I honestly kind of enjoyed it. So I don't know, part of me wants to at least finish the full draft now that I've decided to incorporate book 2 into book 1. I still don't know if I'm going to do anything with it after that. I don't even know if I'm going to finish the first draft. I don't know if I'm going to publish it. I honestly don't know. And this doesn't mean that I don't want to draft the murder mystery either. But you know what? I'm in the mood to work on my fantasy novel, so that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. That is the update. I'm kind of a little bit all over the place right now when it comes to my own personal writing, and it is a little bit frustrating, but I'm also trying to like not put pressure on myself, because at the end of the day, I want my books to be something that I'm passionate about and something that I enjoy writing, and not just something that I'm pushing out one book after the other every single year so that I can make money. And obviously there has to be like a realistic element to it when you're publishing traditionally. But because I don't have a deadline right now from a publisher, I do have that a little bit of like extra room to kind of just play around and explore writing new genres and explore writing different books and kind of seeing where I want to go. So I'm going to take my time to do that and figure out what I want. And yeah, so let's draft a little bit on my fantasy novel. I will keep you updated on how it's going. And yeah, let's see where the book takes us. Who knows? Honestly, who knows? Okay, so time for a writing update. It's now 11:45, so I've been at this for quite a while. However, if we're being super transparent, I also tried to film 2 reels while writing, and that honestly took so much time, but that's because I was also editing it, which was kind of on me. So like I wrote for a little bit and then I kind of got interrupted because I tried to film or edit a reel, and I'm also trying to film a YouTube video, so my writing did get quite a bit interrupted and it took me a while to reach like flow state and really get into the story. However, the manuscript started at, well, when I wrote on Friday, I reached 100,000 words, which is actually really exciting. I feel like that's always such a big word count mark to reach, and it always, I don't know, it just makes me like happy and excited, especially for someone like me who's an underwriter. So hitting 100,000 words is always just like a little bit reassuring, especially when it comes to a fantasy. But anyway, so now the book is almost at 100,600 words, which means that I wrote just around 500 words, which is obviously not that many, but at the same time I'm happy with the 500 words that I wrote, and I didn't have like a specific goal in mind for today. So all in all, I feel like it's good. I'm happy. I had a pretty good time writing it, not gonna lie. I definitely would want to continue working on it on the days that I do have a little bit of time to do so. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call it quits on drafting for now, at least. I've been doing a little bit of work for my freelance business, so I think I'm gonna switch over to my bedroom where I have a heater and I can sit on the heater because it is literally so cold. I'm freezing. We literally went from like summer weather straight up into winter weather. I don't know where autumn was because I didn't experience it, because it was 30 degrees the one day and the next day it was like 16 and cold and raining. So it feels like we're in the middle of winter. But I'm going to move to a cozier spot, and then I'm just going to do kind of like some marketing planning and research. I'm going to try and do a little bit of writing tomorrow as well, because like I said, I actually had a really good time today and it's been nice to work on my fantasy book again. I don't know, maybe sometimes I think it's a good thing when you take a break from your manuscript for like 3 or 4 months. Sounds like a really long time, but also I feel like it gave me a chance to kind of just like reflect back on the novel and get a little bit inspired and creative again. So I don't know, I'm happy with it. I had a good writing session, and yeah, let's go move over to the bedroom where I can continue my marketing research. I'm standing by my front door, and I don't know if you can tell from like the glare on my glare, is that what I wrote on my face, but the sky is super pink right now, and nobody's going into work or anything, so it's just so quiet and you can hear the birds sing, which is kind of a rare occurrence for where I live. I think the kettle is boiling. I know you're supposed to let it sit for a minute, but I don't have enough patience for French press coffee.
I have a little bit of a study to do because my weekends are very, very busy, so I try to catch up on lectures. In my last year of law school and also a Bachelor of International.
Good morning, everyone. It's Friday. Happy Friday. So today is a public holiday, which means that I don't have to go into work. Normally on days like this, I would usually just set the day aside for myself and do as little as humanly possible, just to kind of really give myself time to rest and get ready for, you know, the rest of the week or the next week or whatever is coming up. However, this Monday that has just passed was also public holiday. And so that's kind of what I basically did on Monday. And so I decided that today was not going to be one of those days where I just sit behind a screen or watch TV all day. It is going to be a writing day. And let me tell you, I have been excited for this literally all week. So it's currently still, why does this thing not want to focus? It's currently still pretty early. Well, it's like 22 minutes past 7, which is not like crazy early, but it's earlier than I usually start my writing because most days I start working at around like 9, but I decided that today I want to get up early and I want to get as much writing done as possible. So that's why it's still kind of dark outside. We're basically, today's the 1st of May. So we're kind of like at the end of autumn and it already kind of feels like winter. So the sun is coming up later and later every single day. And I'm not a huge fan of it, but we're gonna make it as nice and cozy as possible. We've got all of our warm lighting. I think I'm gonna sit in my room just because it's a little bit warmer and cozier. We can light some candles. We can put some like atmospheric music on. So we're really going to make it a vibe. I am really, really excited if you cannot tell. So I'm going to spend most of the morning just kind of writing by myself at home. I'm home alone this weekend, so the timing could really not have worked out any better. It's not that I can't write when other people are around. I just feel like when I'm by myself, sometimes it's a lot easier to really get into that like creative writing zone and just get fully immersed into what I'm doing. I do have a few little chores that I need to do today, but I think we're just going to do them in between like my writing sessions. And then this afternoon, me and my boyfriend are going to go and work together because he also has some work to do. So we'll probably go and sit at a coffee shop. And then I kind of want to go ice skating this like late afternoon, early evening, which is completely random, but just basically I used to do figure skating when I was younger and I've just been kind of like thinking about it and missing it, and it just seems like a fun thing to do on a weekend. So I made myself some coffee. As you saw, I've been switching over to, I don't know what you call it, ground coffee, French press coffee. I honestly don't know. I've been switching away from instant coffee and I'm still kind of figuring out how to make it, but so far this is not too bad. However, I'm very much looking forward to going to get a proper cup of coffee at a coffee shop later, so that'll definitely be nice. I think before I get started with my writing, after I finish filming this intro, I'm just gonna grab some breakfast because I am extremely hungry, and it's also gonna give me time to charge my camera because I realized this morning that I have not charged my camera and I really don't want the battery to die mid-filming today. I think that would be quite depressing. As far as the actual writing goes, I don't have like a specific goal in mind for today. I initially thought that maybe like setting like a word count goal would be good because I do that a lot, or a specific amount of chapters or a specific amount of hours. But I really want today's focus not to be like goal orientated, but just letting my creativity flow and just giving myself time to write and get re-immersed in my novel, and honestly just enjoying the process of drafting again. Because when I got my book deal with the Twisted Crown trilogy, it was a little bit crazy with deadlines and there was like a lot of pressure and I had to be very disciplined with my writing. But now, because I don't have a deadline and I kind of just get to explore whatever writing I want and write when I want, how I want, I like the main focus for me today is just to write as much as I can and enjoy it as much as possible. So I don't think I'm going to set like a specific goal for myself. However, I am going to do writing sprints because I still want today to be like semi-productive and I do want to make some progress. And I found that writing sprints usually help me so much. But I am going to do pretty like lengthy writing sprints. I'm not going to do like 20 minutes or 25 minutes because I don't want to like just get into the rhythm of things and then have to stop. So I think I'm going to do like 45-minute writing sprints and then take a 50-minute break because I feel like 45 minutes gives me enough time to like get into the zone, get a decent amount of writing done without getting creatively burned out. And I also think like that 50-minute break is good because it gives me enough time to get up, get moving, go and do something, just give my brain a chance to relax and think about something else, and then come back and write again. And honestly, like the day is ours. We can really make the most of it, and that is what I'm super excited about. However, I have been rambling for a really long time, so I'm gonna go and make breakfast. I'm gonna charge my camera. Let's go do that, and then we will get to writing. Okay, it is now pretty much 9 o'clock. It's like 5 minutes to 9, and I've just finished my first writing sprint. However, I didn't really like do a full proper writing sprint because I kind of spent some time just reading through the chapter I'm currently working on, which is chapter 29, just to kind of like get back into the story, see where I last left off, and kind of just get a feel for it again, if that makes sense. And then I also picked up my journal and I just wrote in this for a little bit just to kind of get my brain into writing mode. However, I did manage to write about 652 words, which is not an astronomical amount. I feel like on a good writing day, I usually do about 1,000 words an hour, more or less. 652 words isn't amazing, however, it's still pretty decent. Manuscript is currently at 102,103 words. I've only written one book that was more than 100,000 words, I think. What was the book in my series called? I think Once Upon a Crown was 110, maybe 112,000, give or take. However, we still have a good few chapters left, so I honestly think this is going to be the longest book I've written yet. Yeah, that's pretty much the update. I don't really know what else to say just because we haven't made that much progress. I will say that although I was really like anticipating today and I was super excited about having a day to myself to write, now that I'm actually here, I'm not feeling as inspired and as productive as I thought or hoped I would be, which honestly is also fine. I'm not going to push it too much. Obviously, I'm going to write what I can write. I also want to just like enjoy the day and enjoy writing and not like force myself too much. The day is still long and there's still plenty of time to write. I think I've just been in this chapter for a very long time as well. We're basically in the last scene of the chapter, so our main character is having a conversation with one of the other, I want to say like main characters, but yeah, like basically one of the other main characters, and there's a little bit of conflict between them. Hopefully it's going to start picking up from here because all the chapters, or like at least the next few chapters of this one, are pretty intense and action-packed, which is a little bit like intimidating in its own sense, but we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. I think I'm going to feel a lot more motivated once I actually finish the chapter, but I'm going to take a short break and then we will hop into our next writing sprint. Okay, second writing session is done and I'm feeling a lot better. I have to admit that I wasn't feeling very positive after the last writing session, so I kind of took a little bit of a break and I started watching the first Dune film. I hadn't watched the first or the second film when they originally came out, but my dad really wanted to go and see the third film with me when it came out. I think it's coming out December this year. So Netflix was very weird about it for some reason. They had the first film and then they removed it, and then like a few weeks ago they put the second film on Netflix, but not the first film. So we ended up watching the second movie, and then yesterday they put the first film back on Netflix. So I have seen the second one and I really enjoyed it, and I decided that this weekend I was going to watch the first one as well. And I'm also listening to the audiobook of the first book. Now obviously, as far as I understand, like, Dune is science fiction. Is it? Yeah, I think it is. I don't know. Okay, so even though it's science fiction and I'm obviously writing high fantasy, I really genuinely enjoy like the politics and the world building of this film. And I honestly feel like it definitely inspired me a little bit when it came to like my own world building and implementing like so many more like elements and things into my story. So I watched probably like the first 15 or 20 minutes of that, and then I went to go make myself a cup of hot chocolate, and I sat back down and I wrote 1167 words, which was really good. I think the first session was just basically like me trying to get into it, and I'm finally starting to feel myself get into that like productive writing space, which is great. So we're gonna take a break. I was gonna go to the coffee shop later this afternoon, however I think we're gonna go a little bit earlier. So I have to get dressed, I have to pack my bag, and then yeah, I have a couple of other things that I have to do this afternoon. So I don't know if I'm gonna go to the gym, but I can still go later this weekend, so we'll see. But I also have to pick up some groceries, and like I said, I have to do some chores around the house, which I haven't gone around to yet. But the writing is going well. I'm happy with that. The manuscript is currently at 100,300. No, I cannot say numbers today. I don't know what's going on. 103,270 words. Don't know why that was so difficult. Anyways, I'm gonna go get ready, and we're gonna go write at a coffee shop for a bit, and then we'll see how far we get. But even if I just write like 2,000 words today, I'll still be happy with that progress. I'm currently wearing my leggings and like my Uggs, which are not outdoor clothes, they're not outside clothes. So I think I'm gonna put on some jeans and put like a pair of sneakers. I'm definitely gonna get my scarf as well as another jacket because it is freezing outside. Welcome to my what's in my bag. So this is a backpack that I use for my laptop. I don't know where she's from because it was a Christmas present, but it's beige and I love it. I literally have a box of tea in here in case of emergencies, you know, never know when you're gonna need a cup of tea. Obviously laptop goes inside, and then my charger in case the battery dies. And then I'm gonna take my Kindle. I don't usually take it, but because we're gonna be there for a while, I might want to take a reading break or two. I'm currently reading The Wedding People and I'm actually obsessed with it, so having a great time with that. And then headphones, pretty self-explanatory, I think. Just pop those in there. I'm gonna take my glasses with me just in case. Hair clip and lotion, lip balm. Okay, I think we're all good to go. Hopefully I can continue to be as productive at the coffee shop. Good morning. It's now the next day. It's Saturday. So yesterday we were on our way to the coffee shop. I was gonna have a really productive writing session and writing afternoon, and that kind of failed a little bit because it was a public holiday and literally every single coffee shop we went to just ended up being basically completely full, and there was no way to sit where I could like charge my laptop or really work. So we ended up ditching that plan and just having a nice relaxed Friday afternoon, which was obviously great, but that means that I didn't really get any more writing done, which is a little bit of a disappointment. But I figured I kind of have to edit this video today anyways, so I might as well write a little bit more, finish filming, and then I'll edit the video. So we have made ourselves some hot chocolate and I've lit a candle. I basically only need some music going in the background and I'm really going to get in the vibes. I honestly think the only thing that I really want to do today is just finish working on chapter 29. I think I have like a specific amount of words that I want to write, and to be completely honest, I think we're quite close to the ending of chapter 29 as well. So like I said, we have a conversation that's happening between our main character and one of the other characters, and there's a little bit of conflict, and they're basically going to like end this conversation unresolved, I guess you could say, because the other character is essentially betraying our main character, which is obviously not great for her. So I'm gonna finish writing the scene. I think I'm just gonna read through a little bit of what I wrote yesterday just to kind of like get myself back into the scene, and then I'm gonna finish this scene, and then I'm gonna edit this video, and then I'm gonna relax for the rest of the day. We also have plans to go out for dinner tonight, which I think is gonna be really fun. But yeah, the weather's actually like super cloudy, it's windy, it's cold, it's been raining all morning and like 1 in the afternoon, but I don't know if it's because I was just busy tidying up the house or what, but for some reason I'm really hot. Like I was so excited to get into a hoodie and just like be comfortable and be working by candlelight and just be cozy at the desk, but I'm really hot. So I'm thinking like maybe before we start I should quickly go change and then we can continue working on chapter 29. I'm not going to set like a timer or anything like that. I think we're just gonna finish the chapter. Like I said, it's not too far from being finished, so we should be fairly quick. I decided to put the hoodie back on because I got cold again. But anyways, we have finished the scene. We're done with chapter 29, and this brings our manuscript word count up to 103,690 words. I hope I said that right. Overall, I think I'm pretty happy with the scene. Obviously, it's a first draft, so it's not going to be perfect. Like I mentioned, one of the other characters obviously kind of betrays our main character, and this is quite like a painful moment for her, so I'm not really sure that her like desperation and her pain is carrying through to like the intensity that I wanted to, but that's what editing is there for. So yeah, I think all in all we made pretty good progress this weekend. We managed to finish a chapter and we brought up the word count, so I am quite happy with how it turned out. But I think I'm gonna call it quits for today. I'm gonna get some lunch and then I'm going to get started on editing this video. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next vlog.